This is Dawn with Metal Wani, speaking with Wednesday 13, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Oh, no problem.
Awesome. So first off, I know that you've just returned from playing some tour dates in Australia. How is that?
I am totally fighting some major jet lag. I've been up since 8 o'clock this morning, and about an hour ago it just kind of hit me. I went, what planet am I on? So, I just had me an energy bar and to power through these interviews, and I think I'm there. I might be a little delirious, so
okay.
Who knows what you're going to... Yeah.
So how are the tour dates? Or how are the Australian fans taking your shows?
Oh, it's amazing there. I mean, it's such a privilege to be able to go there and so far away and play and have that many fans that know your songs, and just it really is looking out in the audience and seeing it's like Halloween. People come to our shows as like an event, but it really is just it really is a whirlwind of a tour. People don't really realize that we go there and we do like 4 shows in a row. It's not a tour bus. You have to fly to every gig, so it literally is sound check, gig, hotel for an hour, airport, gig, for 4 days. So you really just kind of go into this other dimension, and plus it's 18 hours ahead of where we are, and yeah, you miss, like last week I had no Tuesday, but I had 2 Mondays. This week.
That's odd.
So it's bizarre.
Yeah.
But so it happens. But we survived, and it was awesome, and it was great. Unfortunately, it was only 4 shows, which we could have stayed there a lot longer and just kept playing because our fans there they're beyond words.
Cool. So you're set to start the American leg of your tour in May with Combichrist. You're all set for that?
Yeah, that's coming up quick, but I'm glad because we really just kind of got the motor running up in Australia and New Zealand, so we're ready to keep it going. It's just kind of once you get everything rolling and you got to stop for a couple of weeks, kind of sucks. But now we're getting ready for that. It's going to be a cool thing. Like we normally go out and headline and do our own tours, but it's cool to be a support band for once and go out in front of a different audience and and kind of turn some new heads and see what happens.
Cool. Is there anything that you do personally or professionally to prepare for going on tour?
I try to pack enough socks and underwear just to get me started.
Yes, those things are important.
Good thing there's a Walmart every 15 minutes across the United States, so if I didn't pack enough, I can always pick up a pair. But no, I just it's just a lot of stuff that goes into this logistics going into touring, just getting flights and getting everyone on. It's kind of like herding cats. That sometimes they're so that's the hard part. But luckily, I've already got all that figured out. So basically, we just have to get to rehearsal and get on the tour bus and make sure we get to show 1 and hopefully that happens.
All right. What's the biggest difference between touring in the U.S. and other countries, for example, Australia?
Oh, well, in Australia, there's no bus. It's just, you really go to the gigs. You're taking shuttles to the airport, and you have this hotel to, whereas on a U.S. tour for 6 weeks, we're going to be in the same bus for 6 weeks. We got our own little bunk for 6 weeks, and that kind of becomes your little coffin, your little cave of your little fortress of solitude, and so that always becomes like a little safe haven place for at least for me. And where you don't really have that in Australia is because you really just are kind of just going from place to place. You don't have time to really settle down, and that really doesn't work well for my OCD.
I can understand.
And then in Europe we do buses as well, so we kind of get to do the tour bus thing where we get our own bunks and stuff. So really Australia is really the only place that is different from other places because it isn't a tour bus type of tour because you have to fly to every country because they're spaced out so far.
Right. So your most recent album, Condolences, dropped almost a year ago in June 2017. And we at Metal Wani have had a few opportunities to speak with you since then. And in one instance, you talked about working with a producer on this album, which was a departure for you historically. Looking back on it now, was it a good experience for you?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's always good to have, well, at least for me, I like to have someone there to tell me something's good or something's bad, because I can sometimes be my worst critic and sometimes let something good, slip by that, if someone wouldn't have reminded me to work on it, maybe I wouldn't have finished it, and so that was a cool thing, having a producer, someone like Zeus, to go, hey, try this or do this, or maybe that part isn't as good as you think it is. You can make this better, and so it wasn't really just to have someone with an outside ear that isn't in the band to hear something and say, hey, change that. That was always, for me, that was something I always wanted, and it wasn't in the past that I didn't use producers because I was some egomaniac wanting to control everything. We just didn't have the money to afford to hire a producer. It literally was just come up with the money to get the recording cost and get us, get it mixed and mastered. Producer wasn't even in the question. So when it came time to do Condolences, I knew it was time to change things up, and I wanted to change the game up, and I wanted to take us up a level, and I wanted to work with a producer, and Zeus was the only producer I'd worked with before with Murderdolls, and we hit it off, and luckily he had time to do it, and we made it work out, and we got signed to Nuclear Blast after that, and here we are a year later, and we're about to embark on the second half of the Condolences tour, and we're excited. We've only done 5 shows this year, so we're ready to get into this 6-week tour and let out some aggression.
It's cool.
Some pin up. It's been on vacation too long.
Did you feel that working with a producer limited you in any way in regards to your creative process?
No, not at all. I mean, we still get done what we want to get done, and, it literally is just a matter of discussing notes and how a chorus is going to go or things like that. It was never anybody trying to change us or push us in a direction that wasn't comfortable for us. I mean, I kind of think with a band like us, you kind of know what you're going to get sometimes. You just, there really is, with us, we can kind of get away with doing a lot of different things, so we don't have to stay in one direction. And but yeah, I mean, it's always good to have a producer there for me. I think just to bounce ideas off of. And of course, we don't get along, then we don't get along. But I didn't have that problem with Zeus.
Right. You planning to work with him again in the future?
Yeah, we're talking with that now. We're still deciding what we're doing with the next record right now, and if Zeus is available and we can make it work within our budget to make that happen, of course, he's our first choice. And but yeah, we made a killer record with him, and if that continues to keep happening, that would not disappoint me.
Awesome. So Condolences in its entirety kind of gave me the vision of I thought of a playground inside of a graveyard. It's heavy and it's fun, and it has that underlying scary kind of ghouly vibe. I kind of envisioned it as a cross between classic horror and a Disney movie.
Right.
From where do you take your main musical influences?
These days, I don't even know where to even begin. I mean, the horror imagery and sound and all that's just kind of been something that I've done for, I don't even know how many years now. I mean, when I first started playing music back in 1991, my imagery or making a flyer for our first show, had Vincent Price on it or Frankenstein or something like that. I just always had that imagery. So, and then when I heard Alice Cooper and I could hear you could really do something that was, shock rock or horror, I mean, Kiss was shock rock, but it didn't really go into that horror thing. I mean, God of Thunder was more of an evil kind of thing, but Alice Cooper kind of brought the aspect of horror in that I really had never seen before. And, so for me, I guess that just continuing holding on that flag of those type of bands and that imagery, and keeping the music still rock and roll, to the core of it, even though we can branch out and do different things that they couldn't do back then. But yeah, I mean, I guess just the whole influence really just kind of comes from me as when I listen to music, I'm finding myself just listening to old classic rock now, and then when we make music, we just make what we make, and it comes out the way it comes out.
Right. Speaking of Alice Cooper, have you ever considered covering a classic Alice Cooper song or anything of that sort?
Yeah, we just haven't recorded it. I mean, I've been every band I think I've been in. We've covered a song or some part of a song or anything like that. I mean, doing an Alice Cooper song, I think, would come pretty naturally for us to pull off, and
Absolutely.
easy for me to sing. So, but we haven't really made any plans to record any covers. But there's always ideas coming up. I would love to do a cover of one of his older songs, like "Dead Babies" or "I Love the Dead" or
I would love to.
Nightmare.
I'm sorry, I'd love to hear your take on "Go to Hell."
That's another great one too. So there's so many good ones, and I pretty much already know all the words to them, so it would be easy to do. Just we got to work out our arrangement, learn how to play it, and but yeah, we've talked about doing a covers album. There's so much stuff we talk about. When you're in a band and you have 6 weeks to tour and you're waiting around, you can come up with a million ideas, and they're all just kind of floating around up in limbo, and we'll see if they happen one day.
Yep, too many ideas, too little time, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you spent a good part of your career collaborating with other artists on various projects, and you talked previously about the possibility of a new Murderdolls record. Has that been able to move forward at all?
That has actually moved backwards, or just actually hasn't even moved at all. I don't want to say moved backwards. It hasn't moved at all.
Right.
I just really just haven't really spoke with Joey and really at all this year. We had got in touch about a year ago and just kind of just established contact again and mentioned the idea of doing something in the future, not a time on it or anything, just the idea of would you be into it, and we both said yes. And then I got busy doing my stuff. He was touring and putting a record out, and that's the last I've really kind of heard of it, and that's kind of where it is. So I can't say that it will happen or won't, but there's definitely not any plans or anything that's changed since the last thing I must have said.
Okay. Along those same lines, have you been or will you be working on any new collaborations coming up?
I don't have time. We're too busy just moving forward with the Wednesday stuff. Like this next record, I want to completely top what we did with Condolences, sound-wise, just everything, and I want to step the show up and just really take the band to this new visual level that I have mapped out in my head. So yeah, we're just trying to keep moving on up like the Jeffersons.
Okay. Well, again, along those same lines, I thought your work with Bourbon Crow is just really cool. My personal favorite and actually most popular on Spotify right now is "You're a Piece of Shit." Love it.
Another great classic.
Yes.
Classic dedicated to that person song.
Oh, okay. Any person in particular, or can you not say?
No, we never ever give the punchline. There never is one person in particular we dedicate the song to. We would never do that. That gives too much credit there.
Right.
If we just leave it kind of open-ended where the audience can apply, is kind of fill in the blank. Your name is.
Will you be working with this concept again in the future?
Bourbon Crow has just always been a project that kind of happens whenever we get time to do it, and luckily we had a little bit of time last year to put out that last record and do a little bit of touring on it finally, and when that comes back around, I'm sure there'll be time to do it, but again, there's just really nothing on the books or plans other than doing Wednesday 13 and completing a new record by the end of the year and having a new record out, or at least be talking about it this time next year for it to be coming out for the summer. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on, working on doing an autobiography as well in time for the release. So just there's lots and lots of things to keep me busy.
Right. Sounds that way. Are there any new bands that you're following right now?
No. I can't say that. I did pick up the new Damned album, which is amazing, and they're not a new band by any means at all. But I've been listening to that quite a bit, and the new Ministry record. That's the only two new things that I've been playing lately, and then I refer back to listening to the Cars or Sweet or Culture Club or something.
Wow, that's an interesting list of musicians there.
Yes, I keep it diverse.
That's cool. So, to close out, I always like to ask something that's a little lighter, and I'm going with you haven't actually been on the road in a bus for a little while. So, when you are on the road on the tour bus, what's your favorite late night on the road snack?
It used to be Jack Daniels.
Okay, I don't know if I call that a snack, though.
Well, that was late night, during the day, midday, morning. That just kind of never ended. And then you get those, and then you get those munchies, and then it's all the free candy that they throw in our dressing room that ends up in little buckets throughout the bus, and then you find yourself at 4 a.m., like, digging through a little basket trying to find a Kit Kat or a Snickers, or when you go to Europe, they have it backwards, like Milky Ways are actually Three Musketeers.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
Three Musketeer or Mars bars are actually Three Musketeers. Yeah, it's weird. And Smarties are not the same Smarties that they are here. Smarties are like M&Ms, or like chocolate.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's things you have to pick up on the road.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for now. Thanks so much for taking the time out to talk to me, and I'll be catching you when you're in Baltimore. So I'll be looking forward to that.
Are we playing there?
Yes, you are.
There's so many dates I've only looked at the first week.
Right. It's June.
The last week.
I think it's June 7th. You'll be here.
Okay. All right.
So cool. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing you.
We'll see you then. We haven't played there in quite some time, so that should be fun.
Cool. Thanks again.
Awesome. No problem. See you then.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.